I spent $2,754.72 on suspension upgrades for my Harley Davidson off-road Sportster build. So today we're going to get it a big step closer to actually being a functioning dirt bike. I not only picked up the KTM front forks from the suspension company, but I also received this package from K-Tech Suspension, which has the custom rear shocks in it. So let's unpack it because I can't wait to see what they actually look like. I've been waiting for these for quite some time because they obviously had to be custom made. Yo, look at that. I absolutely love how these turned out. The build quality feels amazing and I really like the all black finish. If you're wondering which model this is, these are the Razor R rear shocks from K-Tech, which has the piggyback. So these are a lot more adjustable than the Razor Lights, for example. You can adjust the compression, the rebound, the preload, and you can even extend the length by turning out this eyelet. We won't need that because these are already 17 inches long, which is quite a long rear shock for the Sportster, but will give us enough room to do all sorts of off-road shenanigans. And obviously these are also custom built to support the weight of the Sportster when doing off-road stuff. So this crazy setup definitely goes to show that K-Tech is the way to go if you're building a custom bike, but also if you just want to upgrade your regular bike's suspension to something a lot nicer. K-Tech has a bunch of parts that work with your bike. You can just head over to their website, put in your model, and then you find all of the goodies that they offer. And at this point, a huge thank you to K-Tech for becoming a sponsor of this project, and also to you, Birch, for working with me to make this crazy setup a reality. I can't wait to see these on the bike, but before we do that, I quickly want to show you what has been done to the front forks. I had these at Tag MX for a while now, which is a local suspension company, and they have done a lot of work to them in order to make these work with the increased weight of the Sportster. Because if you haven't watched episode 2 where I've done the front end conversion, these forks are of a KTM SX250 from 2007, and for that age they look very good. But obviously the KTM is a lot lighter bike, so we had to stiffen these up a little bit in order to work with the Sportster. What Tag MX has done was to put the heaviest springs in here that you can find for these forks, and those are rated to 550 pounds. They also revalved the forks, and now we're running heavier oil. What they've also done was to shorten these by 2 inches so that we hopefully get a nicer stance, and they also installed the heavy duty SKF bottom seals. So with this we have properly set up suspension parts for the front and the rear. So let's start putting the front end back together so that the bike is supported in the front, and then we can install the new rear shocks. So something I noticed once I had the forks out of the triple trees is that I actually have a little bit of play in here. That's about 2 millimeters, which is why I printed this spacer that also acts as a dust cap, kind of like on the original Harley setup. So that will sit in between here and hopefully with that eliminate the play. Nice, okay, that should work. So now it's time for the forks. All right, before installing the front wheel, which is by the way also of the KTM SX250, I want to install the new front tire and also get some new wheel bearings in here. And after I paid $50 to get the rear tire installed, Sip suggested that I could try to do it myself just by using zip ties. And I think it might be a very valuable skill to know how to change your own tire, especially if it works with super simple tools like 24-inch zip ties. So now the idea with the zip ties is to squeeze the tire together so that we only have basically one edge, and that protects the tube from getting pinched between the tire lever and the rim. I'm excited to see if this works with the rim lock. I don't know if it's my technique or if it just doesn't work with the rim lock. I'm gonna take off the zip ties and just try to get it on the regular way. Okay, almost done. Oh, there we go. I thought this would be a lot quicker than it actually was. Now that we have the new tire installed, let's quickly install new wheel bearings, and then we have that Odyssey behind us. For the wheel bearings, I can fortunately use a more professional approach, because when I built the BMW, I invested in the Kuko bearing puller set, and I brought the most important pieces of that set over to the States. So with that and a little bit of heat from the propane torch, it should be relatively easy to get these exchanged. And that is how easy it can be if you have the right tools. Now it's time for the rear shocks, and I'm so excited to see them on the bike. This front end already looks so good. So apparently there was a little hiccup during the production process and I got the wrong bushings. I got 12mm inner diameter, which is why these screws didn't fit. What I should have gotten are the proper Sportster bushings, because K-Tech offers this same rear shock as a shorter version as a direct replacement for the Sportster, which means they do have the proper bushings, but for some reason this ended up to be the wrong one. I just contacted Birch about it and they are going to adjust my bushing sleeves, so I just pressed all of them out and dropped them off at the post office. But I don't really want to wait until they are done, so I 3D printed 8 exact replicas of these bushing sleeves that we can press in here, and then hopefully this fits on the bike at least as a mock-up. The rear shocks look amazing. They're finally on the bike, and I also adjusted the rear fender. I shortened it a little bit more so it sits further into the bike. And the way I think I'm gonna mount it is I'm gonna use the stock rear fender mount right here. And the new rear fender also has a bolt hole on each side. So I think I'm just gonna weld in a plate with a thread so that I can use those as well. All right, look at that. We have high quality suspension on the Dirtster. It makes such a big difference. The lowering of the front really helped out, and also the huge upgrade in the back with the Razor R shocks from K-Tech. It finally doesn't look like a chopper anymore, but more like a dirt bike. And I can't wait to test ride this bike. But before we can do that, I still have to complete quite a few other projects. One of the main ones will be the footpack mounting. And then I think I'm also gonna build a custom exhaust, because with the rear shocks, the old one doesn't really fit anymore. So yeah, it might be time to build my first own exhaust. If you want to support the build, grab some Dirtster merch. I'm gonna put you the link down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.